All right, we're live, I think. Let's see. It says we're live, but we'll see if that means anything. Uh-oh, that's not good. Hold on. Oh, wait. We are live. Never mind,
Yes.
folks. Yep, I thought I had an issue, but we are fine. All right. I just noticed that we just got another subscriber, so thank you, whoever that was. We are up to 7 now, which is pretty awesome. All right, so let's just get started. All right, let's go. Oh, well, let me start the recording.
This meeting is being recorded.
Oh, wait a second. Foster, I can hear your, there's like some sound, something or other going on over there. It was
Yeah,
like,
I didn't know it was going to make an announcement. It made an announcement.
Yep, it came through your microphone there. All right. I don't think I can hear myself. Check. Can you can't. There's no echo, is there?
No, you're good.
All right, ready? Let's go. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Booksite episode 11. Unfortunately, I wanted to get out last week's episode before today, but I had a little bit of an issue when I edited the podcast. I got about halfway through and it decided to crash. So that wasn't very happy. I was not very happy about that. All right, I have Foster Brown with me again today.
Hello, everyone.
Hey, Foster. Happy Monday.
Yes.
I know, it's been a very eventful week for both of us, hasn't it? You know, with the storm around Houston and the craziness of my business, it's definitely been a pretty interesting week for both of us, I'd say.
I'd agree.
Yeah. I know, it's just been lots going on, and, you know, the 4th of July coming up. Super excited about that, though, because I've also had some more friends come into town that were actually from Michigan who are studying in Texas now, which is pretty awesome. But let's talk about the actual podcast, what we're here for, instead of our personal lives. Well, they might be interesting. That's not what we're here for. So we're going to be talking about a lot of things. We're going to actually start with news again this week. We started with the main topic last week, but let's just start with news just because it's kind of how we usually flow. Last week was the Texas CPA expo, and it was an awesome experience. Of course, it was my first time there. I didn't know what to expect. The things that I was most worried about, honestly, were how am I going to be treated as a blind person, right? Because I've never been there before. No one knows me. And I just kind of felt like that could be a problem. I was pleasantly surprised. Everybody treated me with integrity and respect. And I really, really appreciated that because I felt like I was actually part of instead of excluded from, right? So I felt like I was part of the organization. And I felt like it was a really, really inclusive environment for everybody. And the sessions were amazing. Now, of course, I was super exhausted. It did not help that I had tax class an hour later. That was just unfortunate timing. But it was a great experience. And of course, I also got 8 CPEs, which I don't really need now, but, you know, they could be helpful later. So, Foster, do you have anything to like add to that? I know you probably weren't, you weren't there, but,
No, that sounds interesting, and it's good to know that they welcomed you. They're not, were standoffish or nothing like that.
I am very thankful for that. Of course, I didn't really know where I was going, right? The whole venue was very confusing. There's a lot of exhibitors there, and everybody was just super helpful. I met a whole bunch of great people, a lot of CFOs. I've noticed that there's a lot of CFOs there. There's also a lot of financial like controllers and things like that. Not a lot of firm owners. So it's not a great place to go ask for like clientele because it's a lot of employees, not employers. So That's just something I noticed there too. But a great experience. Okay, the next thing I did last week was I am now Xero certified. So if you recall, if you watch the stream, because it was supposed to be out, the whole podcast, but the Xero certification webinar is over and I am officially a Xero certified advisor. Now, this webinar was pretty awesome. The instructor was amazing and she described everything. And the other thing too is that there was like some form of like, I don't know if it was audio description or something, but it was just so accessible. Of course, there was closed captions done by a real captioner. And so I was told. I couldn't actually verify that though. But what I mean by real captioner is not like a caption bot, like a Rev, automated, but I mean like a live captioner. Again, that's what I was told, but don't quote me on that. To me, that's really, really awesome because while I personally don't need that, people who are deaf or hard of hearing will. And to have a real captioner on a software where a lot of people who may not even be deaf, whatever, who will even use that, right? And apparently a big car horn who thinks that they agree. So, it's very awesome to see their commitment to accessibility. And folks, what I've actually done, and this is going to surprise a lot of you, is I've actually moved my entire firm over to Xero. Now, not my clients, because of course I still teach QuickBooks, and of course the QuickBooks teaching is just going up and up and up. But in terms of my firm's books are all done in Xero. And later on in the show, when I get to the last news item that I'll talk about, you'll understand why. Because there might be a new website in the works. I said might, hint, hint, maybe you should listen to the next news item. So yeah, very accessible. Of course, it was ran through Zoom and there was polling questions. You also got CPE for that as well, so that was nice. And it was just an awesome experience. So anything what do you kind of think about that, Foster?
Well, that sounds great. That really sounds great, especially if they're all about accessibility, because there are lots of people that have disabilities that would like to get into these different professions and whatnot. So that's a good thing.
Yeah, and speaking of that, you kind of just brought up a whole nother can of worms that I wasn't thinking about talking about for a while. So I had a couple people tell me that I need to open up a blind financial professionals, like a nonprofit, to get more blind people in the finance realm, either personal finances or taxes or accounting. I know everybody on tax Twitter is going to love the idea purely because we've got a big accounting shortage right now. But what do you think about that, Foster? Like, do you think that that's something that people, would like, since you brought this up? Anyway.
That would be good because, even within our state organization, we have people that have worked in finance and whatnot. And that would be great, to see if they would, especially if they would want to get involved with that.
So if you do, if you want to get involved with this organization, email us at feedback@booksite.net. So if you want to get involved, email us at feedback@booksite.net, and we'll kind of collect interest. I'll be sending out some more Twitter polls and some Mastodon polls and Facebook polls and other polls. But if you want to be in the loop, just go ahead and send us a message on feedback@booksite.net. So yeah, I think that'll be a really, really great thing. And yeah, so super excited about that because people have been asking me about it for a while now. So yeah. Okay, so you heard it. That is, a new website is coming. So let me explain. Now, you all know that I've been using a company for my firm's website called BYF, Build Your Firm. They're a great company, but I just don't think that they are the best company for what I'm looking for. I haven't really got the ROI that I'm looking for. So I'm actually moving to something that you guys all are familiar with now. I know that a lot of blind people are probably going to put a bunch of dislikes on this video, even though they technically don't count anymore, so dislikes won't really do anything. What am I talking about? It's something called Squarespace. I know. People are thinking, why in the heck are you using Squarespace? Squarespace is inaccessible and it should never be used. Trust me. I got calls about this today, right? Because I was a dummy and I accidentally published my website before it was ready. And oh boy, did my phone ring like crazy today. You ask Michael, I got like 5 or 6 calls. It was nuts. Squarespace. Why? Because it's simple, it's easy, and it's also easy for Michael to design, right? We always want something that's easy for Michael to design because that way it's easy for me to be able to manage and I don't have to deal with another external company and making sure that the server keeps up because sometimes I've had issues. So I'm using Squarespace. Now, of course, the next question that people are going to ask me is how accessible is it, right? That's normally the flow of things. Squarespace is actually pretty accessible, sort of. I know, I amped your hopes up for just a second there. Squarespace is accessible if you are an advanced user. I can't say that enough. It's accessible if you're an advanced user. So if you're an advanced user, it's doable. I wouldn't recommend it though if you don't want to spend time trying to figure it all out. But the iPhone app is also really awesome. So you can do a lot with that, even the Mac app and the iPad app. And then the Windows site as well is pretty good, but there are issues. But I may do a Squarespace tutorial at some point, so who knows. But either way, it's awesome. Now, people are asking, why don't you just do a WordPress? Folks, if you haven't already determined, WordPress is a really, really great way to get a whole bunch of tax deductions if you're a business owner. Why am I saying that? Well, I'm saying that because it's expensive as crap. You see, for what I want to do with WordPress, it costs me over $1,000 a year. And I'm going to explain what I'm doing with Squarespace. But when I do something with Squarespace, it's only going to cost me like $600 to $800 a year, give or take 60 a month. But if you do an annual plan, it's like 19 or 27 a month, 19 to 27. Sorry. I think it's 27. So I just did a monthly plan because I want to test it out. It's not that I can't afford it annually. I just simply want to test it out to make sure I don't have to spend money on a thing that won't actually work. So it is a very, very great system. And I can do an e-commerce functionality. And that brings us to the next thing. Folks, we're going to be selling book site merchandise. So if you want any shirts or any of that kind of thing, once I announce that, you can go to my store at taylorarndt.com. More details will be provided on Twitter and everywhere else. And you can buy book site merchandise. So if you like our podcast, you can go ahead and buy our merch. So that's something that we're going to be doing. And we don't even have to ship it, which is awesome. So that's a lot of news, but I just thought that I would introduce that. Have you ever used Squarespace, Foster?
No, I haven't. I have heard of it, but I have not actually tried to use it.
It's very interesting. Okay, because yeah, I haven't really used it before until like a few weeks ago, but now I've really had the time to figure it all out. So
do you find it in comparison to WordPress, is it about the same difficulty, easier? What are your views?
if you're sighted, it's a lot easier. If you're blind, not so much. I mean, it's okay, but you have to be advanced, like I was saying.
Okay.
So it just depends. But for you, since you're low vision, I think it'd be fine.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you basically start with templates, or you can do like a blueprint thing where you kind of start with your own. I have my website, like I said, the taylorarndt.com, which I'm still working on. And apparently a whole bunch of people have found, so it's been fun. I didn't mean to publish it, but I accidentally did. So it was fun.
Oh, okay.
Because there was an unlabeled button.
Oh, yeah.
And I played the button guessing game, if you know what I mean, where you just click on
Right.
things and you hope for the best.
Yeah.
Yeah, don't ever play the button guessing game if you don't want bad outcomes, folks, because basically you don't know what you're going to get yourself into. And if you're not blind, you're thinking, what the heck is the unlabeled button guessing game? It's simply if something's not labeled or it says button, or graphic, I
Right.
literally just click on it and it just, you don't know what's going to happen. It's like a roulette wheel. That's why I call it I call it the unlabeled button guessing game. So yeah, you play that a lot with Squarespace.
Oh, okay. So yeah, not 50. What is it? 50.
508? No,
Yeah,
heck no. But the IRS would not approve.
The federal government period would approve.
Yeah. I just said the IRS because that's where you work, but yeah, the whole federal government wouldn't approve.
Mm-hmm.
It's not something that they use for their websites. But however, the front end might be 508 compliant. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, so the back end is not 508.
Gotcha.
And if you're not sure, 508 folks is like a set of accessibility standards used by federal government agencies, like the IRS and others. There's also WCAG, which is kind of, all not really the same, but it's kind of a similar body of knowledge. No, body of standards. I've been thinking about EA test prep too much today, folks. So yeah, it's very interesting, and we will have a new book site website because, like I said, we're going to be transferring everything with the whole RSS feed that's been processed. So we'll have the book site website, but we'll have a book site website, but the store is probably just going to be at my main TaylorArndt.com because I don't want to have to deal with two stores. So what else? All right, let's see. Let's go into our main topic because we've been talking about news for a long time. And Foster actually came up with this topic, and it's fraudulent tax preparers. Foster, do you want to kind of talk about what you were intending for this topic, or just kind of talk about what you know about it?
Yeah. So one aspect of fraudulent tax preparers are what's called ghost preparers, and that's basically when somebody helps somebody else prepare their return, but they don't put their name on it as being the preparer. A lot of times what they may do is they'll get they'll get somebody's information and then open up a account with say like TurboTax under that person's name, and then input that person's tax return for them, and it'll when it gets received, it'll actually say self-prepared when really the person didn't self-prepare it. They had somebody else prepare for them.
So there's a question about that then. Is it true that with a TurboTax licensing, you cannot use it if you're a paid preparer, correct?
That aspect I'm not sure of.
Okay, because I know it's something to do with licensing, but I'm not sure.
Right. Yeah. That I'm not sure of. Because they have things that are specifically, as you know, they have other companies that make software specifically for people that are prepared.
Correct.
And TurboTax,
no,
I don't think TurboTax or H&R Block, I don't think those companies, their software is not for that.
Now, like companies like TaxSlayer and TaxAct have it both sides. They've got the personal and professional market.
Right. Yeah. So if you're not because when you're a professional, of course, like you were saying, those expenses that you pay to subscribe or get licensed and stuff, those are things, that you can actually write off as your business related expenses.
Right. So when you can write off like your PTIN fees, right? All that kind of stuff.
Right.
And your tax software subscriptions.
Right. So even as like you were saying, by you being self-employed, there's certain things you can write off that are business related, you can write off.
Yep.
But that's an example of a fraudulent preparer. They'll prepare somebody's return, and they won't put their name on it, and they'll make it seem like that person self-prepared their own return.
Do these people ever get caught? That one especially?
Yeah, they end up there are people that get caught. What happens is a lot of times they'll do a return where, like, so let's say you're a person that usually gets, you may get like $1,200 refund, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then get people you get people like, yeah, man, this guy told me he could get me, $3,000, $5,000 refund. And like, okay, how so?
Yeah.
Because you usually only get 12. So then they get this bogus return. They go to this person, get this bogus return. They send a return in. And a lot of times now, before we even finish processing it, or before we issue the refund, it may go under examination. And so then that's when people start spilling their guts once they go under examination.
And how do you detect something like that? Because I mean, it'll just say TurboTax.
Well, when you file a tax return, it goes through a process.
Okay.
And and as it's going through as it's going in the process of your return being um, um, completed, it goes through several steps. And so the system is programmed to check for certain things. And also uh, if you sent in taxes before, then it's going to kind of compare that return to previous tax returns that you've sent in. And if it notices, certain type of inconsistencies, then your return may be flagged, for you to verify, or it might be flagged where it goes straight to audit. So there's a number of things that could happen.
Okay. And then does the preparer get notified or does the client get notified that happens?
It depends. So if the person does, like if they put what is it, the designee?
Mm-hmm. Third party
You know,
designee, yeah.
right. If they do that, then yeah, the designee will be notified of it. Um, if they have a power of attorney on file for like a CPA, enrolled agent, or like a tax attorney,
Yep.
that person will be notified of it.
Okay.
Because when you fill out those power of attorney forms, there's a box where it asks, do you want the representative to receive all the same notices as you?
That
So if they
makes sense.
so if they choose that box, their POA will receive the same notices as well.
Okay. Is there any other, like, I'm sure there's a lot of other fraudulent preparer types. Do you want to kind of go through some of the other ones?
Well, sometimes you have a situation where the preparer may try to put somebody else's children on your return.
Oh, what?
Mm-hmm.
Really?
Yeah, and so that person, can get a huge, a larger return. And then, like I said, once it goes under examination,
mm-hmm.
or it gets flagged, then we start asking you to send in, proof of residency for that child. And
Oh.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
that's when things get a little sticky. And usually what happens is when people get in that situation because of what their preparer did, then that's how we gather that person's information. Because
Okay.
if they've done it to one person, you can believe they've done it to multiple people. So in order for those persons to more or less save their behinds, they will tell you who did what.
So what do you do about like, the preparers? Is there disciplinary actions on them?
I mean, some people go as far as to get incarcerated,
Oh,
as well as fined. Yeah, yeah. Those fines are serious too.
do you want to, do you know what they are?
Well, you can receive a civil penalty for, you know, fraudulently preparing returns, and that could be $5,000, $10,000,
Ooh,
and it could be that. And let's just say you got, let's say you did the same, you did the same. Uh, what's the word? You did the same fraudulent activity to a
yeah,
hundred
or
people.
offense. Yep.
Yeah, you did the same offense to 100 people. We found out about it. We found those 100 returns that you did,
Mm-hmm.
and basically you can get assessed $5,000 for each fraudulent return.
Oh my goodness. I don't even want to do the math on that.
Yeah. So you're at what is that, $500,000?
Yeah, 500,000 folks. That's crazy.
Yeah. So just because you tried to uh, fraud the system, defraud the system.
You notice that there's a like certain type of fraudulent preparers based on like licensure. Like, do you notice a lot of the unlicensed ones, or is it even sometimes the licensed one? Because I know the due diligence questions, like, we have to answer those.
Right. Some people I mean, some of these people do have their they've gone through the IRS to get their P10 and stuff like that, and they still do it.
But is that all they have? Is just a P10? They don't have an EA or any of that?
No, no, they're just preparers, return preparers. Yeah, so they're not enrolled agents. They're just have their P10 so they can prepare taxes.
And that's the thing, folks, because there's really no national like standard on that, is there? That you can get a P10 and keep going, can't you? You don't really have to go through any of the mandated training.
I'm not sure. Well, I mean, to keep it, I think there is certain type. I think there are certain things you do have to keep up. I'm
Well,
not
that's for the annual filing season program, right? To be in the
right.
directory. But
Yeah,
technically, people don't even have to do any training whatsoever. There
right.
are those preparers out there. But again, I think those are the ones that are the most risky.
Yeah, yeah. Like, I mean, you do have some people that are EAs or CPAs that you know do stuff like that, but most people take that. Most people take their license seriously. So,
I would hope so.
you know.
So, what can you do to prevent getting a fraudulent preparer?
Well, like I always tell people, have them explain to you what they put on your return. If they're not willing to explain to you what they put on your return, and they're trying to, rush you out, get your, get your authorization so they can e-file it, because a lot of times that's what they'll try to do is e-file it, right? Because it's quicker, right? So
Of
you
course, yeah.
yeah. Um, if they, especially if someone tells you they if they don't give you your paperwork, that's a definite no-no, because ultimately your tax return falls back on you whether you prepared it or somebody else prepared it.
Yeah.
So you should always get your paperwork, a copy of your tax return and all the other schedules and forms that go along with it, so that you can have that for your records, in case you get audited, in case you have to uh, go through the taxpayer protection program, you know. So those things like that, making sure that you get your paperwork, can help you avoid being uh, defrauded by somebody.
Can you report these people?
Yes. Yes, there are forms to report fraudulent tax preparers.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. There are forms. I can't. I have to look. I can't think of the numbers offhand, but there's
That's
forms.
fine. Yeah, we can put it in the show notes.
Yeah.
And then what about like even before you engage this person, are there warning signs? Because I know a lot of people like, we don't want to all the way get to the end and then have issues.
Well, sometimes a lot of people are referred by word of mouth,
Okay.
and so if you know some people that have used the person, you know, find out what their actual experience has been with them, uh, and just be cautious.
Yeah. Common sense, folks.
Huh?
Common sense. I said common
Yeah.
sense.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just be cautious because nowadays everybody's trying to hurry up and get money quick.
Oh yeah. A lot of those. The get your refund fast, or I've seen these like get your refund in like a couple days things. And I'm like, these aren't legit.
Yeah. Well, a lot of people do what's called refund anticipation loans or refund
Yeah, but these
anticipation check.
were refund
But a lot of
anticipations.
people
Yeah.
don't. A lot of people don't do that anymore.
Right.
A lot of preparers don't do that anymore uh, because of the crackdown on people's returns being monitored.
Yeah, I don't do any of that kind of stuff, but no, they're actual like spams because then you click on them or you don't even click on them and they have weird links. It's like just be careful, folks, because there are
Hmm.
these IRS spammers out there, and even be careful because sometimes this happened to me the other day. Sometimes people can call you thinking that they're IRS, right? The thing, they said, "Oh, I'm the IRS." Do you want to kind of talk about that for a second?
Well, if somebody from the IRS calls you, they're all they're always going to identify themselves with their last name. Hello, I'm Mr. So and so. I'm Mrs. So and so. My badge number is 10 digits. So, whatever your your 10 digits are.
Do they normally call or no?
In rare instances, we call, but usually it's after we've tried to reach you by mail. Yeah. So you have form 14157-A,
Okay,
which is tax tax return prepare fraud or misconduct affidavit.
great. So
And
that's just something to keep in mind too, people.
you also have form 14157, which is just complaint regarding a tax preparer. So the first one is more serious because it's a longer form and you can report more issues. The other one's a little shorter. But either way, whichever one you use, if you have any supporting documentation, that definitely helps us to find that person or get that person shut down.
Do you want to explain kind of what are some supporting documentation?
Usually you just send the documentation to wherever you would normally file your tax return.
So
So
they
for
need
us,
like the tax return, right? They need that, the
yeah.
IRS.
So for us in Texas, you would send your paperwork to Austin.
Ah, okay.
Hmm.
So is Austin basically because I know, right, it also processes iTunes, right? But
Right.
I know that there's a big office up
Mhm.
north here.
Yeah, depending on what part of the country you're in and where you would normally file your tax return, that's where you would mail a complaint like this. Or you can schedule an appointment at your local tax office and submit the paperwork there so we can forward it for you.
And is that something you guys do as the tax preparer assistant center or
Well,
taxpayer?
we don't help
Sorry.
you prepare we don't help you prepare the form, but we'll tell you about the form if you do want to make a complaint and you want to submit it.
Okay. That's really good to know, especially because people are gonna be like, oh, what do we do about this? So
And
yeah.
even you as a preparer, if you know of another preparer that's doing shady activity, you can turn them in too.
That's good to know.
Yep.
Now, I guess the other side of the story, right? Because every issue has, a couple different stories. So, what about for us preparers? I'm turning the script around, folks. So, what about us preparers who have fraudulent clients, aka people who are trying to run from the IRS?
Well, like this guy told me once, he said, hey, I tried to reach him to, get set up on a payment plan. If he didn't send in the paperwork, then, go ahead and garnish his wages or his bank account or whatever, is, you can only do so much for a person. The rest is on them.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, is
Like
there a form that you
if
have to
you
fill out?
not, there's really not a form. Like if that person gives you if that person gives you a like power of attorney, like the 2848
Yep.
or the 8821, you know, you can call and check to see if they've done what they need to do. And then if you have, phone numbers, new updated phone number or mailing address, you can always give that. You don't necessarily need to send in any special documentation, long as long as your paperwork is in order.
Yeah, I've had some interesting stories. I mean, they haven't happened to me, but I know one person somewhere. I found this out. I don't know if it was Twitter, but some client was trying to run to Canada to avoid the IRS.
Mm. Yeah, well, I mean that's kind of funny because that's our next door neighbor. So
Uh, so how does that work? How does that work if they do that?
I mean, it's still kind of like depends on how much they owe, and because if you owe a lot of money, like you can't even leave the country.
Really?
Yeah, like if you owe $50,000, you can't leave the country. Like your passport's no good.
Interesting.
Yeah, like that gets reported to like TSA and stuff.
Ah,
So if you're trying to fly out overseas, whatnot, and your information comes up on a no-fly list, yep, you can't do anything.
yeah, that's very interesting because I know, like I said, there are some people who want to just not do anything, just don't pay anything.
Hmm. Yeah, there are people that do that. Um, but your average, your in this day and time, not many people are able to go off the grid.
Nope. Nope,
Yeah.
they're not.
Yeah, so everybody's connected to the internet one way or another. Cell phone, bank account, school,
Either,
most
yeah.
jobs,
Yep.
yeah. So most people are connected to the internet. So
Yeah, a lot of different ways. So I guess the other thing is then, like, what happens to the the clients? Do they get like, you know, of course they can't go out of the country if they owe a lot more, but do they have other things against them?
Well, let's look at it. If you owe money, you're not trying to make a payment plan, or you refuse to pay. They said your wages could be garnished, your bank account could be garnished. Um, yeah, depending on if you're self-employed,
I was gonna ask that
it
next.
might not, it we may not be able to do those things so easily. But if if you owe like over $10,000 to the federal government, that can show up on your credit report in the form of a tax lien.
Really? I did not know that.
Yeah. So then what happens with that is, uh, so let's say you owe like $10,000 and you hadn't made a payment arrangement or nothing, and we filed a tax lien. And of course, before we do all this stuff, we send you letters. We try to reach you. If
Right,
we
right,
aren't
right.
able to reach you and you don't respond, then you know we're only required by law to try to reach you. So you do that and you don't respond, and the lien gets filed, then the credit bureaus and stuff like that, they're looking for stuff like that, and so they'll put it up on your Equifax, Experian, that stuff will show
Yep,
up
yep, yep.
on your credit report. So then let's say, okay, well, Taylor, we want a contract with you and have you do XYZ for us. We're gonna do a background check on you, and they pull it up. They do a credit report check, and it's like, whoa, she owes $11,000. How's she going to teach us on QuickBooks when she's not paying her own taxes?
Right. Yeah, of course,
Yeah.
I'd never do
So
this, but this is a hypothetical, folks. So
right. And so then what happens is then you lose out on business opportunities because of people see that you aren't even meeting your tax / financial obligations.
not to even mention, can that like how does that work if you're an EA? So like if an EA has tax issues for some reason.
That could, like I said, if it shows up on your credit report, you definitely could lose business. I think as an EA, you have certain requirements to meet. So
You do.
I'm
Yes.
not sure all those requirements, but you know, yeah. So I don't know. Do you know what all those requirements are? Or
Yeah, so you have to like be in compliance with all of your tax debt.
so meaning basically all your tax debt paid in full, or at least
I
paying on it.
Yeah, I think right, a payment plan will count, right? Because doesn't that I think that
Right.
shows the IRS that you're paying on it, or does that not even count?
Yeah, that counts. But the thing is, I guess you don't want to be a repeater.
Nuh-uh. No, that's something to know.
Yeah. Every
Right. You
now and
don't
then,
want to be
every now and then people get caught up. Something may happen, whatever. But that's not something that you want to be a repeat offender on, because then that you run in jeopardy of losing your license.
and that's no good.
Exactly. Yeah. No, that's not good.
So, do you have any other things to kind of talk about before we wrap up today's show?
No, I think that was a good topic. I think that was a good topic about the fraud, and like you said, we'll publish those the names of those two forums in the notes so people can go check them out and whatnot.
Yep, and those will be in the notes. And then what we'll do is, like I said, we'll publish a bunch of episodes this week because we had a tiny error with the audio editing software. And then yeah, we're gonna get everything over to Pinecast. So if you've not subscribed to my new RSS feed, we're trying to do a feed redirect. But again, please subscribe to the Pinecast feed. Transistor is going to be going away for various reasons. I thought it was a good idea, but it is become an absolute accessibility nightmare. So Pinecast it is. So it's kind of how that goes. So, all right, everyone. I think that will do it for today's show. Please go ahead and give us feedback at feedback@booksite.net. And with that, everyone, have a great day and we'll talk soon. Bye, everyone.
Bye, everyone.
The recording.
All right. So let me stop the stopping streaming. So this.